First Contact and Deception. Supreme Overseer Venera stood at the observation deck of the Arcturus flagship Eternal Dawn, her crystalline form refracting the light of Earth's sun into dancing patterns across the command center. The holographic displays surrounding her showed detailed scans of the third planet in this unremarkable solar system, along with its primitive defensive systems and electromagnetic communications. Fascinating. She communicated telepathically to her science director, Kylix. These humans have barely mastered basic spaceflight, yet they've managed to survive despite their numerous biological inefficiencies. Their atmosphere is practically toxic by our standards. Kylix's crystal facets shifted in what passed for amusement among their kind. They are remarkably resilient, Supreme Overseer. Our initial scans show they've survived multiple extinction-level events and still managed to become the dominant species on their world. However, their technology is at least 3 centuries behind the collective standards. The Arcturus Collective had spent millennia perfecting their crystalline forms, evolving beyond organic limitations. They had encountered countless species across the galaxy, but few had shown the potential for ascension to their level of existence. These humans, with their primitive silicon-based computers and fossil fuel dependency, seemed particularly far from enlightenment. Their planet is rich in quantum crystals, Venera observed, examining the geological surveys. We could harvest enough here to power the collective's expansion for the next 1,000 years. And their sun's particular radiation spectrum would be perfect for nurturing new crystal formations. Shall we initiate diplomatic contact? Kylix inquired, though both knew this was merely a formality. The collective had long since determined that primitive species rarely survived first contact with their superior civilization. It was simply more efficient to harvest resources without the complications of cultural exchange. Yes, Venera decided. Let us show them our benevolence. Prepare the standard technological gift package. Nothing too advanced. We wouldn't want to overwhelm them. Her crystalline structure vibrated with what humans might interpret as a chuckle. The collective's first broadcast to Earth was designed to inspire awe. They transmitted it simultaneously to every electronic device on the planet, a display of technological superiority that should have sent a clear message about the power differential between their civilizations. The human response, however, was not what they expected. Instead of the usual panic or religious fervor that primitive species typically displayed, the humans responded with a mix of curiosity, skepticism, and preparation. Their military forces went on high alert, yes, but their scientists began working overtime to analyze the collective's transmission methods. Their leaders called for unity while maintaining defensive positions. Their media began speculating about the crystalline being's potential weaknesses, even as they marveled at their advanced technology. They are preparing for conflict, Kylix noted with surprise, reviewing the global reactions, despite our obvious technological superiority. Impossible. Venera dismissed the concern. They must realize resistance would be futile. Their most powerful weapons couldn't even scratch our crystalline hulls. But as the collective's diplomatic vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere for the first official contact, their sensors detected something unusual. The humans were already attempting to analyze their shield frequencies. They had positioned satellites to study the crystalline ship's refraction patterns. They were collecting data, adapting, preparing. The first meeting took place in a neutral location, a platform constructed in Earth's orbit. The human representatives, sealed in their environmental suits, faced the crystalline forms of the collective's diplomats. The humans' vital signs showed fear, yes, but also determination, curiosity, and something else the collective's sensors couldn't quite categorize. "We come in peace," Venera transmitted, using the standard first contact protocols. "We offer you advancement, technology, evolution beyond your current limitations." The human representative, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, responded with unexpected insight. "We appreciate your offer, Supreme Overseer, but we notice your ships have been scanning our quantum crystal deposits rather thoroughly. Perhaps we could discuss a fair trade agreement instead." Venra's crystalline form vibrated with surprise. They weren't supposed to have detected those scans. The humans' monitoring capabilities were more sophisticated than their general technology level would suggest. Of course, she recovered quickly. We believe in beneficial exchange between civilizations. But as the diplomatic party returned to the Eternal Dawn, Venra and Kilix shared a moment of uncertainty. The humans were analyzing everything, questioning everything. They hadn't simply accepted the collective's superiority as established fact. Perhaps, Kilix suggested carefully, we should revise our standard approach with this species. Nonsense, Venra decided. They are primitive, regardless of their curious attitudes. Proceed with the standard resource acquisition protocols. If they resist, they will learn what so many species before them have learned. You cannot fight the inevitable. But as the Eternal Dawn's crew began their preparations, they failed to notice that the humans were already reverse engineering aspects of their communication technology. They didn't realize that Earth's quantum physicists were studying the crystalline being's very nature. They couldn't know that humanity was already preparing for a fight they had suspected might come from the moment they detected the alien fleet's approach. The Arcturus Collective was about to learn a lesson that would shake their civilization to its core. Technology alone does not determine the outcome of conflicts, and humanity had spent its entire existence learning to overcome superior forces through innovation, determination, and sheer stubborn will to survive. The attack began at dawn. Thousands of crystalline ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their faceted surfaces refracting the morning sunlight into dazzling displays. The Arcturus Collective had launched what they considered a standard resource acquisition protocol, overwhelming force designed to shock primitive species into immediate submission. Supreme Overseer Venra watched from the Eternal Dawn as the first wave approached Earth's major population centers. The humans will surrender within hours, she transmitted to her command staff. Their weapons cannot penetrate our crystalline shields, and their primitive targeting systems will be confused by our refractive properties. The first sign that something was wrong came from the Sydney attack force. Supreme Overseer, the squadron commander's transmission carried unusual harmonic distortions of stress. The humans, they're using sound weapons. Precisely modulated frequencies that. The transmission cut off as the squadron commander's crystalline form shattered into a million glittering shards. The humans had discovered that while the collective's crystalline bodies were nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons, they were susceptible to specific resonance frequencies. In the 3 months since first contact, Earth's scientists had analyzed every piece of data from their interactions with the crystalline beings. They had noticed how the aliens' forms vibrated during communication, had studied the harmonic patterns of their ships. Impossible. Kilix's form pulsed with agitation. They couldn't have developed countermeasures so quickly. Their technology level. Multiple squadrons reporting critical damage. The tactical officer interrupted. The humans are using electromagnetic pulse weapons modified to match our shield frequencies. They're deploying sonic artillery platforms. They've developed some kind of thermal shock weapon that. Venra's form crackled with anger. Launch the harvest drones. Begin crystal extraction immediately. Show them the futility of resistance. But the harvest drones encountered their own problems. The humans had flooded their quantum crystal deposits with interference patterns that made extraction nearly impossible. Some sites had been rigged with devices that corrupted the crystal structures themselves, rendering them useless to the collective. How? Venra demanded. How did they know to target these specific vulnerabilities? The answer came from an unexpected source: human broadcasting channels. They were making no attempt to hide their communications. In fact, they seemed to want the collective to hear. Throughout human history, we've faced enemies with superior technology. A military historian was explaining on a global broadcast. The English longbow against French knights. Guerrilla fighters against modern armies. We've learned that superior technology doesn't guarantee victory. What matters is how you use what you have. The human resistance was unlike anything the collective had encountered in their long history of conquest. Their military forces didn't attempt to match the collective's superior technology directly. Instead, they adapted their existing weapons in creative ways. They used the environment against their enemies, something the collective, with their focus on technological superiority, had never considered important. In the mountains, humans used avalanches to bury crystalline ships, the sudden temperature changes causing catastrophic fractures. In the deserts, they deployed mirrors to focus intense solar radiation on the collective's forms, exploiting their crystalline nature against them. In the oceans, they used underwater pressure differentials to create destructive resonance patterns. They're not fighting the way they're supposed to, Kylix observed, watching another squadron fall to seemingly primitive but devastatingly effective tactics. They're not following any standard military doctrine. Because humans don't believe in standard responses. Dr. Chen's voice came through on all frequencies. She was broadcasting from a hidden command center, her words translated perfectly into the collective's harmonic language. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. And we've been preparing for this possibility since we first detected your fleet. The collective's invasion forces found themselves facing an enemy that refused to fight on their terms. Human aircraft executed maneuvers that seemed suicidal, diving between crystalline ships to make them crash into each other. Ground forces used the collective's own refractive properties against them, setting up complex arrays of mirrors and lenses to redirect their energy weapons back at them. But most disturbing to Venra was how quickly the humans were learning. Each encounter with collective technology led to new innovations in counter-tactics. They were sharing information globally, each defeat or victory adding to their collective knowledge of how to fight the crystalline beings. Supreme Overseer, Kylix's transmission carried the unmistakable harmonics of fear. We've lost 30% of our harvest fleet. The humans are now actively targeting our shield generators with weapons that shouldn't exist at their technology level. They're developing new tactics faster than we can adapt our strategies. Venra's form pulsed with cycles of disbelief and rage. This was supposed to be a simple resource acquisition mission. Instead, it had become the collective's first major military defeat in over 1,000 years. The humans weren't just resisting. They were actively pushing back, using the collective's own technological superiority as a weapon against them. Full retreat, she finally ordered, her crystalline form dim with the admission of failure. Recall all forces immediately. As the collective's ships fled Earth's atmosphere, their once perfect crystalline forms now scared and fractured, they received one final transmission from the surface. It was a simple message, broadcast on all frequencies in perfect harmonic language. Next time, try asking nicely first. Adaptation and innovation. 6 months after the failed invasion, Supreme Overseer Venera received a report that made her crystalline form pulse with impossible harmonics. The humans hadn't just studied the wreckage of collective ships, they had begun to understand it. More than that, they were improving upon it in ways that defied all logic. "Show me," she commanded, and the holographic display materialized in the command center of the Eternal Dawn, now stationed safely at the edge of the solar system. The images showed human ships, crewed by collective standards, but now incorporating crystalline technology in ways the Arcturus engineers had never considered. They had taken the collective's refined, pure crystal technology and made it messy, imperfect, different. They're using organic crystalline hybrid materials, Kylix reported, his form vibrating with reluctant admiration. They've somehow found a way to combine their carbon-based technology with our crystal matrices. It shouldn't work, but the human vessels now possessed shields that could adapt and reshape themselves like living organisms. They had weapons that combined the precision of crystalline energy, focusing with the raw power of nuclear reactions. But most disturbing of all, they had developed ways to communicate with and even influence crystalline structures themselves. How are they advancing so quickly? Venra demanded. This level of adaptation should take centuries, not months. The answer came from their surveillance of human information networks. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had made all research into the crystalline technology open source. Scientists, engineers, and even amateur inventors across their planet were collaborating, sharing ideas, failing fast, and learning faster. They're not afraid to fail, Kylix observed. They try impossible things, and when they don't work, they learn and try again differently. Our engineers would never attempt such risky innovations. 6 months after the failed invasion, Supreme Overseer Venera received a report that made her crystalline form pulse with impossible harmonics. The humans hadn't just studied the wreckage of collective ships, they had begun to understand it. More than that, they were improving upon it in ways that defied all logic. "Show me," she commanded, and the holographic display materialized in the command center of the Eternal Dawn, now stationed safely at the edge of the solar system. The images showed human ships, crude by collective standards, but now incorporating crystalline technology in ways the Arcturus engineers had never considered. They had taken the collective's refined, pure crystal technology and made it messy, imperfect, different. They're using organic crystalline hybrid materials, Kylix reported, his form vibrating with reluctant admiration. They've somehow found a way to combine their carbon-based technology with our crystal matrices. It shouldn't work, but the human vessels now possessed shields that could adapt and reshape themselves like living organisms. They had weapons that combined the precision of crystalline energy, focusing with the raw power of nuclear reactions. But most disturbing of all, they had developed ways to communicate with and even influence crystalline structures themselves. How are they advancing so quickly? Venera demanded. This level of adaptation should take centuries, not months. The answer came from their surveillance of human information networks. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had made all research into the crystalline technology open source. Scientists, engineers, and even amateur inventors across their planet were collaborating, sharing ideas, failing fast, and learning faster. They're not afraid to fail, Kylix observed. They try impossible things, and when they don't work, they learn and try again differently. Our engineers would never attempt such risky innovations. A transmission from Earth interrupted their discussion. It was Dr. Chen again, but this time she was speaking from what appeared to be a research facility. Behind her, humans in laboratory gear worked with crystalline components, their crude instruments somehow coaxing new behaviors from the perfect structures. "We want to thank you," she said, her words carrying the subtle harmonics of crystalline communication, something that should have been impossible for human vocal cords to produce. "Your invasion taught us so much about ourselves and about the potential of your technology. We'd like to share what we've learned." Venera's form flickered with confusion. "Share? After we attempted to conquer your world?" "That's what humans do," Chen replied. "We learn, we adapt, and we share knowledge. We've discovered that your crystalline technology has amazing potential for medical applications, environmental restoration, and deep space exploration. Applications your people never considered because you were too focused on perfection." The displays showed human medical facilities where crystalline structures were being used to repair damaged nervous systems, factories where hybrid materials were being developed to clean polluted environments, shipyards where vessels were being constructed that combined the best of both worlds, human creativity and crystalline efficiency. "This is wrong," Venera transmitted to her advisors. "They're taking our perfect technology and making it impure. They're making it better," Kylix countered, his crystalline form shifting in patterns that indicated deep thought. "Their willingness to experiment, to combine seemingly incompatible elements, it's leading to innovations our civilization hasn't seen in millennia." The humans had done more than just adapt collective technology. They had fundamentally reimagined it. Where the collective saw crystalline structures as perfect and complete, humans saw potential for change and growth. Where collective engineers worked to eliminate impurities, human scientists found ways to use those impurities to create new properties. "We've received reports from the frontier colonies," a communications officer announced. Some of our own people have begun experimenting with human methods. They're requesting permission to establish collaborative research projects. Venera's form dimmed with the realization that humanity's influence was already spreading through the collective. Their chaos, their imperfection, their endless drive to change and improve, it was infectious. There's more, Kylix added. The humans have begun exploring applications of crystalline technology we never imagined. They're developing ways to use it for terraforming, for consciousness transfer, for faster-than-light communication. They're not bound by our traditions or our assumptions about what the technology should be. The tactical display showed a new human vessel emerging from their crude shipyards. It was neither human nor collective in design, but something entirely new. Its hull was a living matrix of organic and crystalline materials that could heal itself, adapt to different environments, and channel energy in ways that defied conventional physics. They're not just copying our technology. Venera realized, her form resonating with a new understanding. They're evolving it, and in doing so, they might force us to evolve as well. As if to emphasize her point, the human vessel initiated its drive system, a hybrid technology that created stable wormholes using crystalline focal points and human chaos theory mathematics. It accomplished in moments what had taken collective ships weeks of careful calculation. The message was clear. Humanity wouldn't just adapt to new technology. They would transform it, improve it, and use it in ways its original creators never imagined. And they would do it not through careful, methodical perfection, but through bold experimentation and fearless innovation. The age of pure crystalline technology was over. The era of hybrid innovation had begun. The turning point. The first warning came not as a tactical alert or a sensor reading, but as a strange harmonic disturbance in the crystalline networks that connected the collective's fleet. Throughout their ships, the perfect lattices of their technology began resonating with an alien pattern, something that was neither the pure frequencies of crystalline communication nor the crude radio waves of human transmissions. Multiple anomalies detected. The Eternal Dawn's sensor officer reported, their form flickering with uncertainty. The humans are singing to our ships. Supreme Overseer Venera's form crackled with disbelief as the harmonics washed through the command center. The humans had discovered that crystalline structures responded to music, not just to pure tones, but to the complex, emotional patterns of human songs. They were using this knowledge to communicate directly with the very essence of collective technology. Impossible, she began, but the word had barely formed when the first human ships emerged from hyperspace. They were beautiful in their imperfection. Vessels that combine the angular precision of crystalline architecture with the organic curves of human design. Their hulls pulsed with living light, powered by a fusion of human plasma technology and crystalline energy matrices. But most disturbing of all, they moved like dancers, their formations flowing with an artificial intelligence that blended human neural networks with crystalline computing. They're not just using our technology, Kylix observed, his form resonating with a mix of fear and fascination. They're communicating with it, teaching it, making it evolve. The human fleet's first action wasn't an attack, it was an invitation. Their hybrid ships broadcast a complex harmonic pattern that caused the crystalline components of collective vessels to resonate in response. Throughout the fleet, ship systems began behaving in unexpected ways, responding to the music of humanity's making. We don't have to fight. Dr. Chen's voice came through, carried on waves of crystalline harmony. Your technology doesn't want to be a weapon. It wants to grow, to change, to become something more, just like we do. But the collective had not survived for millennia by embracing change. Venera gave the order to attack, and the space between the fleets erupted with crystalline energy beams. The human response demonstrated just how far they had come. Their ships didn't just dodge, they danced. They moved in patterns that seemed random but carried deeper meaning, each maneuver telling a story through motion. The crystalline weapons meant to destroy them instead became part of their performance, energy beams redirected and reshaped by hybrid shields that pulsed with living light. "Target their command ships," Venra ordered, her form rigid with determination. But even as she gave the command, she watched human vessels doing things that should have been impossible. They had developed what they called quantum origami, the ability to fold space itself using crystalline focal points guided by human intuition. Ships would disappear into geometric impossibilities, emerging where collective targeting computers said they couldn't possibly be. They had turned space combat into a form of art, each movement calculated not just for tactical advantage, but for harmonic resonance with the crystalline technology they had adopted. "They're not trying to destroy us," Kylix realized, watching as human ships systematically disabled rather than destroy their opponents. "They're trying to teach us." The humans had developed weapons that didn't shatter crystalline forms, but rather reformed them, introducing controlled imperfections that made them stronger, more adaptable. They had created technologies that could heal damaged crystal matrices, not by restoring them to their original perfect state, but by helping them grow into new forms. As the battle progressed, something unprecedented began to happen. The crystalline technology itself began to choose sides. Ships throughout the collective fleet reported systems acting with unexpected autonomy, responding to human harmonics, evolving beyond their original programming. "This isn't combat," a tactical officer transmitted, their form pulsing with realization. "This is transformation." The humans had understood something fundamental that the collective had forgotten in their pursuit of perfection. The most resilient systems aren't the most rigid, but the most adaptable. Their hybrid technology wasn't just a compromise between organic and crystalline. It was an entirely new paradigm that celebrated imperfection as a path to growth. "Your civilization achieved something remarkable," Dr. Chen's voice came through again, as human ships continued their dance through the collective's disintegrating formation. "You created technology that was perfect, but you forgot that perfection is static and all life, requires change to survive." The battle reached its climax not with a devastating explosion or a heroic last stand, but with a symphony. The human fleet began broadcasting on all frequencies, their ships moving in harmony with the music. Throughout the collective fleet, crystalline structures sang in response, resonating with frequencies that spoke of change, growth, and the beauty of imperfection. Venra watched as her perfect, unchanging world cracked and reformed before her eyes. The humans hadn't come to destroy the collective, they had come to evolve it. Their victory wasn't achieved through superior firepower or better tactics, but through the simple, profound understanding that even perfect crystals could learn to dance. "All ships," she transmitted finally, her form shifting into new, uncertain patterns, "stand down. We have much to learn." As the human fleet took up position around the collective ships, their hybrid technology pulsing with living light, Venra understood that this was more than a military defeat. It was the end of one era and the beginning of another, an age where perfection would learn to dance with chaos, and the crystals would learn to sing. A new understanding. One standard year after the Battle of Harmonic Convergence, as humans had taken to calling it, the crystalline spires of New Alexandria rose from the lunar surface, humanity's first joint colony with the Arcturus Collective. Its architecture was neither purely human nor purely crystalline, but something altogether new. Living crystal structures flowed into organic curves, while human-designed environmental systems pulsed with crystalline energy matrices. Supreme Overseer Venra, her form now bearing the deliberate imperfections that marked the new movement within the collective, stood in the central chamber alongside Dr. Chen. Both watched as teams of human and crystalline researchers worked together, their differences becoming their greatest strength. "Your people have changed us," Venra transmitted, her harmonics carrying notes of wonder. "In all our millennia of existence, we never imagined perfection could be improved upon." Dr. Chen smiled, touching a nearby crystal wall that hummed in response to her presence. "And your technology has changed us. We're learning to think in new ways, to see patterns we never noticed before." It turns out imperfect beings and perfect crystals have a lot to teach each other. Throughout the chamber, evidence of this synthesis was everywhere. Human children played with crystalline constructs that responded to their emotions, teaching them mathematics through harmonic resonance. Collective engineers worked with human artists, creating installations that merged crystalline precision with human creativity. Medical researchers from both species collaborated on technologies that could heal both organic tissue and crystalline matrices. "We've received the latest reports from the frontier colonies," Kylix announced, approaching the observation platform. His crystalline form now incorporated organic patterns that would have been considered heretical a year ago. "The hybrid ships are performing beyond all projected parameters. They're not just faster or more efficient, they're developing their own forms of intelligence." The greatest discovery had come 3 months after the battle, when human quantum physicists and collective crystal masters had worked together to understand why the crystalline technology had responded to human music. They found that consciousness itself had harmonic properties, patterns that resonated across organic and crystalline substrates alike. "Your ships weren't just tools," Dr. Chen explained, watching a new vessel emerge from the lunar shipyards. "They were alive in their own way, waiting for someone to speak to them in a language they could understand. Music, emotion, imperfection, these weren't flaws in the system. They were the missing elements needed for true growth." The new vessel was a perfect example of this philosophy. Its hull was a matrix of living crystal that could think and adapt, guided by a hybrid AI that combined human neural networks with crystalline quantum computing. It didn't just follow orders. It interpreted them, improved upon them, learned from them. Some among the collective still resist these changes, Venra admitted, her form shifting in patterns that indicated concern. "They say we're corrupting perfection with chaos. And some humans fear we're losing our humanity by merging with crystalline technology." Dr. Chen nodded. "Change is never easy. But look at what we've accomplished together." She gestured to a holographic display showing the progress of the Genesis Project, a joint venture using hybrid technology to restore dead worlds to life. Crystalline structures channeled and purified energy with perfect efficiency, while human-designed systems introduced the controlled chaos needed for ecosystems to thrive. What one civilization saw as a flaw, the other recognized as an essential feature. "We received an interesting transmission from the Andromeda expedition," Kylix shared, his form brightening with excitement. "The hybrid ships have discovered a new form of faster-than-light travel. They're calling it resonance jumping, using the harmonic properties of space itself to move between points. It's neither our crystalline method nor human hyperspace technology, but something entirely new." This was perhaps the greatest lesson both civilizations had learned. True advancement didn't come from perfecting one approach, but from finding new combinations, new harmonies, new ways of seeing the universe. "The question," Venra transmitted thoughtfully, "is no longer whether humanity is ready to join the galactic community. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for what humanity and the collective will achieve together." Dr. Chen laughed, the sound causing nearby crystals to chime in harmony. "Ready or not, here we come. The universe is full of wonders we haven't even imagined yet, and now we have the perfect combination of qualities to explore them: your precision and our creativity, your stability and our adaptability, your perfection and our wonderful, useful chaos." As if to punctuate her words, a new sound filled the chamber. A symphony played on instruments that merged organic and crystalline components, creating harmonies that neither civilization could have produced alone. The music spoke of battles fought and wisdom gained, of barriers broken and bridges built, of two vastly different approaches to existence learning to dance together. In the space above the lunar colony, hybrid ships prepared for their next mission of exploration. Their crews, both human and crystalline, carried with them a new understanding that the universe's greatest achievements don't come from pursuing perfection or embracing chaos, but from finding the harmony between the two. The future that stretched before them was neither purely human nor purely crystalline. It was something new, something alive with possibility. It was imperfect, uncertain, and absolutely beautiful. And somewhere in that perfect imperfection, both civilizations had found something they never expected. The next step in their evolution, achieved not through conquest or submission, but through the simple willingness to learn from each other. The crystals had learned to sing, and humanity had learned to resonate with the music of the spheres. Together, they were ready to teach the galaxy a new song.